Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to learn how to push and pull boxes in your 2D side-scrolling game. Thank you to the commenter who left this idea in one of my previous videos. I hope this video can help you and many others. By the end of the video, we should have something that looks a little like this, where we can push and pull objects of any shape, size, or other creative liberties you assign them. These objects can also affect our player controller's velocity, which is perfect for making puzzle platformers, or just adding in other interactable objects to your side scroller to make it more immersive. And with that, let's jump into the video. For this tutorial, I won't be going over every single step of how I created the demo, so I'm going to gloss over a couple things. To start off, we have our base scene here. I have a couple sprites to make up my background tiles and 2 tile map layers to build up my base and decorative tiles. I also have my player controller, and that's all I have for my main scene. If I come over to my player controller here, I kind of just have a basic setup with an animated sprite 2D. I have 5 animations, with my idle animation being my autoplay. And then I just have a collision shape set up. If I go up to my character body here, I can see that my player's on collision layer 2, and looking at collision layer 1 and 3, which are my environment and my object layers. Now if we head over to the script, you'll see I have an enum at the top with all of my player states to help me keep my code organized and readable. I have my gravity constant. I have these 3 export variables for my speed, my pulling speed, and my jump velocity. I then have my current state variable. And lastly, I have my animation sprite, which is an onReady variable. I then have my physics process, which I have my direction variable at the top. I then pass that to my horizontal movement function. So if we have a direction, then we have our velocity.x equals speed times direction, and we can change our state to walk. Else we change it to idle and set our velocity back to 0.0. We then have our vertical movement. So if we click the jump key and are on the ground, we jump. If we are not on the ground, then we will have gravity take effect. And we can change the state to fall or jump depending on if our velocity is negative or positive. The next function I want to look at is a helper method for our animated sprite, and allows us to flip our sprite depending on direction. So if we do have a direction, that being 1 or negative 1, we'll then enter this if statement. And if it's negative, we'll flip. And if it's positive, we won't. The last thing I want to check is our state machine setup. So we have this function change state. If the new state we pass in is equal to our current state, we return. If not, then we'll handle our state and then set our current state to our new state. In our handle state function, I'm basically just using this as like an animation state machine. So you'll see the state corresponds to the animation. And if we go into the game, you'll see all of my animations work. We're not able to push the block yet, but we'll get to that next. Okay, so go ahead and add a basic node to your scene tree. Call it move component and add a script to it. The reason we called it component is because this will be a drag and drop solution for any other object in our game that we want to pull or push. We'll give it a class name of move component and add a couple export variables like speed and gravity. We also want to have access to that top level node, which was our character body, which we named box. So we can access stuff like velocity and move and slide in our physics process function. We then want to go ahead and make an apply gravity function. Similar to how our character works, if it's not on the ground, we apply gravity, and add your move and slide. Make sure you do parent.move and slide. All right, the next thing we want to do is add in 2 raycast 2Ds to our box object. We can duplicate that one by doing Control D, and we can go ahead and position them either side of the box. You want to make sure not to give them too much space or too little space. So something like this is good. We then want to name our rays descriptively. So the right one will be right collision ray, and the left will be left collision ray respectively. And in our code, we can drag these over by doing Alt and Shift, and it will generate export variables for us with these 2 rays assigned for us. Just like that. Okay, the next method I want to look at is called getCollisionNormal. And I don't know if this is the most appropriate name for this function, but what I'm trying to do is get the collision normal from the player's perspective when it collides with the box, because I'm trying to match up if that collision normal is equal to the key we're pressing on the keyboard, if that makes sense. I'll put a picture up in the top right corner so you can kind of visualize it better. The next function I want to look at is called isInteracting, and it's checking if either of the rays are colliding with something. If one of them is, then we can interact with the box. Lastly, I want to look at our getCollider function, which checks both rays in a for loop. And if either one of them is colliding, we can get that collider, and we only care if it's a player. So we check if it's a player and we return that collider or else we just return null. Lastly, I just want us to take a little peek at our push movement method. If we scroll down to it, we'll see I'm getting the direction through our input class. And in the conditional statement here, I'm checking if that direction equals our collision normal, which I was talking about earlier. I'll put the picture up again. And if our direction is not 0, because we don't care if we're not clicking a key. And you'll see here, parent.velocity equals speed times direction, or else we just set it to 0. Lastly, I just want us to go ahead and make sure our rays are assigned to be looking for our player character body. And that's on layer 2. So now you can see we can push the box. It's working perfectly. That's so awesome. And now we can jump up there. There you go. But we still can't pull the box backward. And that's what we want to work on next. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added in 2 new variables to our move component. One being our grab variable, which is a boolean, and the other being a variable to store our player. I've also gone ahead and added in our pull movement function. If we scroll down, you'll see it's pretty similar to that push movement function. However, we don't care if that get collision normal matches the direction in this case, because we can go either way while we're pulling the box. And to determine whether we should grab or not, we'll use input, which is a virtual method, and we're checking if that grab key is clicked and we're interacting, which is in this function here. Then we can set that grab to true. If we let go of that grab key, then we set it back to false. In my case, grab is shift. And you'll see now I can go ahead and push the box and I can pull it, but it's not working right because our player is faster than our box. So heading back to our player script, we want to add a new method called set pull speed. We're basically going to use this in other scripts to set that export variable within our player script. Back to our move component, we want to make another method called set player. We want to get access to our player, and if our player exists, we then want to check if that set pull speed method exists within our player script. If it does, we take our box's speed and set it to that player pull speed. We want to do this within our input function when we grab, and when we let go, we set player back to null. Now, if we head back to our player script, we want to go to our horizontal movement method, and we want to change something. When we're clicking the input for grab, we want to have our velocity.x equal to our pull speed, and if we're not holding that, we want it to be our regular speed. Now in game, if we go up to the box, I can push it, and if I pull it, it follows us perfectly. But there's still a couple little weird things like my animated sprite not flipping right, and if I hold shift, I am still slow, so I only want that to happen when I'm touching the box. So we're gonna go ahead and add a raycast 2D to our character controller. We're gonna position it about halfway down our player, and we want it to just be poking out of our collision shape. I'm gonna name it collision ray. Now back in our script, we wanna go ahead and do left click and control and drag that right in. I wanna make a new function called update collision ray and pass in our direction. Now if we scroll down to the method, we're gonna see if we are clicking a direction and our current state isn't pull, then we can go ahead and update our ray. We don't want to update it when we're in the pull state because we want that ray to still be colliding with the box. And I'm just getting that target position.x, taking the absolute value and multiplying that by the direction we're facing, and that'll flip it perfectly. I'm going to make another function called isPlayerColliding, which is checking if that ray is colliding with any object in our game. And getCollider, which just returns the collider that ray is colliding with. And if it's not colliding, we just return null. So we'll go ahead and head back up to our horizontal movement function, and we're going to make a variable called colliding. And we're using that colliding function. And we're also going to check if we are pressing grab and we're colliding with our box. We use our pull speed. If not, we use our regular speed. And we can change state. If we are colliding, we'll change to pull. And if we are not colliding, we change to walk. And that's just so we have our animation set up properly. And if you're not clicking a direction, you can just slam the velocity back to 0 and change our state to idle. And we also want our array to be pointing to the correct physics layers. So make sure the object physics layer is selected. And if you want your player to look like he's bumping into the wall, you can also just keep that environmental layer selected. Now, if we hop back into the game, we can see that our player pushes the block, pulls the block, and it's all working kind of right. I mean, our sprite's still messed up, but we're gonna fix that next. If we jump over our block, we can actually bump into our tile map and he pushes. Not that we're pushing anything. If we head back into our script, we'll take this little snippet from the conditional statement and just throw it into our flip animation method. And you can see that now it's working perfectly. Awesome. So that's all we're gonna need for our little move component script. Okay, we got a bonus feature for the video. We're gonna make another movable object. I'm gonna inherit our box scene, and I'm just gonna kind of mess around with more sprites and collision shapes until I got a cool new object. Right here, I have the big box, and I basically just duplicated sprites and collision shapes till I had a new object. And you want to make sure that in your move component, you have the new objects rays selected. So if you go over and you click on that, just make sure you select the correct rays. And I'm gonna change the speed to be like 10 pixels per frame. So it's a little slower than our smaller box. And then in our main scene here, I'm just gonna go and drag that in. And that's basically it. We have a new movable object. So if I head into the game, I can go ahead and move that box over, jump up, and go ahead and pull this weird big box over to get up on this top platform to achieve nothing basically because I didn't put anything up here. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, drop a comment below and I will answer it. If you like this asset pack, head over to my itch.io page and download it. Please download this asset pack. I implore you. I also just want to say, I so appreciate how much this channel has grown over the past couple months, and I can't wait to keep putting out new videos. I have so many ideas. And thank you again to the commenter who left the suggestion for this video. And until the next one, see you guys.